How's it going, friends? And welcome to BitCast episode 102 for the week of July 10th, 2022. I'm your host, Jake Martin. On the show this week, we have Landry Smith, once again, a.k.a. Hot Sauce.
Oh, man, I forgot about that. I actually don't even remember how that originated, but what's up, man?
You thought I forgot.
I thought, yeah, I did. I'd forgotten. So, of course. How's it going, man? Thanks for having me.
Oh, dude, it's so good. It's been a good day. Quick shout out. Got like a whole bunch of new followers on Twitter by doing this like thing that I saw somebody else do when you're close to like a milestone. You know, you just put it out there like, hey, I'm getting close to this number. If anyone else is into the things I'm into, go ahead and give me a follow. So
you got on your knees and begged, but it worked.
Get me over 100, please.
I'm at 91 right now, so
yeah,
maybe I should do the same.
You can do the same, or I'll do it for you. I'll just shout you out and let
Thanks,
folks
man.
know they need to follow you for your gaming hot takes and hot sauce opinions.
Thanks. My problem with Twitter is I have so many interests. Like I'll tweet about basketball and like the NBA playoffs, and sometimes like whatever I'm reading, I'll like pop some quotes on, and I feel like I need to be strictly gaming, which is probably like 90% of the tweets that I do. But I'll throw out every once in a while like quote whatever I'm reading, and sorry, a fly was attacking me, and I was like,
get out of here.
And I'll get like one like for that, but you know, shout out to the one person who enjoys classic literature.
Hey, and shout out to all those one persons out there that like the content we put out there. We appreciate it. Okay, it's appreciated. We're not big time here, but we're having a fun time doing it. So, and that's all that matters.
Cheers.
But if you are tuning in, cheers to that. That's exactly right. We are talking about what we've been playing, which I'm excited to. That's like my favorite segment of this podcast, just getting to hear what people are playing, because I guess if I vicariously live through people and like, oh yeah, that sounds great. I might not ever be able to play that, but it sounds great. And then our topic of the show today is game droughts, backlogs, and everything in between, because 2022 has been maybe somewhat of a slowdown year, and we're going to talk about that. But before we do, housekeeping. Thanks for helping me hit 100 followers out there on Twitter. You guys are awesome. Next week, I will be streaming with my actual real brother, my older brother, the one who introduced me to video games, really. Watching him play Mega Man growing up. We're going to be playing maybe some Fall Guys, some sort of cross-platform games, because he has an Xbox and a Switch. So we're trying to figure out what we want to play. But that'll be a fun stream, and it'll be hard to tell apart our voices because we sound almost exactly the same. So,
oh man, so your brother's like radio ready right out of the gate. That's awesome.
I hope so. I don't know how he's going to sound. I don't know what kind of setup he's got, but it'll be something. So, drink of the show today, Landry. I saw you sipping on something over there. What you got this time?
This is I like to call them Bush Nas. It's a Bush non-alcoholic.
Nice.
It sounds like the worst thing of all time, but I've mentioned this, I think, on the show before. I'm going sober with my wife. She's pregnant right now, so
I love it.
About like 6 months in, I've tried a lot of non-alcoholic beers, just to kind of like, because I still want to hang out and like be one of the bros whenever I'm out and around town. And Bush NA tastes exactly like regular Bush, which is like the best non-alcoholic beer out there. So not too bad. So that's my review of non-alcoholic beer for the day.
That's fantastic. And how do you feel? That's one thing I've always been curious about. Like people that have kind of totally cut it out, like have noticed a huge improvement in just overall health and energy, usually.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess like all the gluten in beer, I didn't realize what a toll that was having on me. It's just kind of weighing me down a little bit. So,
just kind of weighing me down.
I feel good though, man. I have zero complaints about taking this time off from drinking, kind of resetting and reconsidering my perspectives on partying hard. So,
oh yeah, the days of partying are not for dads. That's just not a reality anymore.
Yeah, it's another thing. Having a 2-year-old will definitely. That really changes it for you. I don't even know what I'm talking about. Like the past 2 years, it's not like there's a window for that in my life, honestly.
Yeah, I was like, I don't know about you, man, but I don't do any of that. that has not been a thing. For me, I got a nice little Boda box of red wine. Just a little pour here, and it's I don't even know what it's just their red something. It's fine. Yeah, it's fine.
Stay classy.
I'm not much of a wine guy, but
really.
When you got it, it's nice.
I'm not really either.
It's nice when you have it. You're like, okay, yeah, this is fine. It's cozy. But moving on to the cozy things, Landry, I got to know, what are you playing?
Oh, man, I've been thinking about what I should talk about. We already talked a lot about Elden Ring on this show, so I think I'm going to...
Well, I want to hear your updated perspectives now.
Well...
How far are you?
I'm about 15 hours in. I really haven't checked my play count, but I'm like level 32.
Oh, you're doing good. Okay.
Yeah. I've basically done all of Limgrove, the starting area. Limgrave, sorry. I don't know, man. I like it a lot. I think it's awesome. I'm a little overwhelmed by the entirety of the game. Like I feel like Limgrave was so vast, and I sunk so much time into it. I'm like, I don't know if I've got like the willpower to drive and barrel through the rest of it, to be honest. So today I had like my little gaming time carved out, and I just kind of picked up Horizon Forbidden West instead. And I was like, you know what? I think I'm going to give this a go. Maybe I'll come back to Elden Ring in a month or so. But right now I'm a little, I don't know. I'm just daunted by the vastness of the game. It hasn't hooked me like I was anticipating it would.
Interesting.
Which, as you know, I'm a fan of, prior Souls games. So I think one thing that I'm really kind of freaking out about is the side quests. For some reason, because they're so vague in Souls games, and they're vague in the other games as well, but because those worlds are so confined, it doesn't feel as much to me like I'm constantly thinking like, man, I'm missing something. And that's the way I feel all the time that I'm playing Elden Ring, and I constantly want to resort to a guide, and having to check my phone so much to feel like if I'm missing something or not is just like not pleasant right now. So I think that's why I'm moving on.
Okay. I respect that. And I think what I've heard recently is like people that play Elden Ring, they play it in two ways. They just steamroll through it, and they know they want to do everything in that game. And then for those of us that are probably a bit more time restricted, or like have other things they might want to be trying out, it's like, this is a big commitment. So you either have to sacrifice not being a completionist and just kind of doing the things that you find interesting, or like kind of what I did is I hit that wall too, where I was like, this is a big game. I don't have time to do all of this. So I found like the leveling section where there's like an area where there's a few like grinding areas, but there's one in particular that's really, really good. And you can just grind and you get tons of experience. And so I leveled myself up really, really high. And then eventually it was just like, okay, I'm going to go to like the next places I'm supposed to go basically. And then just kind of finish the game up that way.
Nice. One thing I will say is like, I haven't had a lot of pushback on bosses. Like I kind of feel like a badass out there.
Yeah.
Like, I've been wrecking through all the people in that first little area, like the Weeping Peninsula and Limgrave, like I was saying. So
these guys have nothing on
yeah,
them.
So that's not it. Like it's not the difficulty curve that's getting me. It's more, which I guess you could say, not really knowing what to do. There's a little bit that is part of the game, That is kind of like you're just supposed to explore, figure it out as you go, and it's you're not going to have a clean 100% playthrough probably on your first time in a Souls game. I understand that. It's just so daunting at this point. And I've only got like 3 more weeks left of my summer break. I just don't know if I want to spend it playing Elden Ring right now.
Yeah, it's not a very joyous place to spend your time either. It's not very beautiful sometimes. Sometimes it is, sometimes it's gross.
It's like there are moments of beauty, and I love like the horror genre, but the music in that game is just a constant drag. So I don't ever want to play it for more than like an hour or two.
There's certain places where it's beautiful. There's other places where it's a little bit of a downer.
Haven't hit too many of the beautiful spots yet. So on the music front, the world is aesthetically pleasing and it is fun to explore, but the music has not stood out to me yet.
Well, so for me, I have been playing through Uncharted Lost Legacy. I got the PlayStation Plus extra tier so I could try some of these games out, and I'd never played Lost Legacy before. So just quick notes, like it's been fun going back through the Uncharted vibe and exploring and doing these light puzzles here and there. The game still looks amazing, even though it's technically a PS4 game. It looks great. And like I looked up how long it is to beat this game, and just knowing that it was like a short 7-hour experience has actually made it a lot more attractive to me. So I think I'm really close. Nice. I think I'm really close to beating it already, but I was just like, yeah, this has been good. This is exactly what I needed. I didn't want to get back into a full Uncharted game. Like I want to play Uncharted 4 again, but I don't think I'm ready yet to jump into that. So this has been a nice little stopgap between that.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a few years before I want to revisit Uncharted 4. I've still got that pretty fresh in my memory.
Yeah.
And that game was long.
It was pretty long.
But I beat Lost Legacy this year as well.
Look at us.
For the first time. And it was very fun.
2 friends beating Lost Legacy in the same year. Look at us. 2 dads. And then also Returnal. You got me back on Returnal because you picked it up, and then we were like, oh, let's do co-op because they added that. And that was great. I had a fun time. I don't know about you. Did you enjoy that? Or
I had a blast, man. I really am extremely impressed by the game. And it's just so when you're playing that game, it feels so good. It looks so good. It sounds so good. Like everything they set out to do, they did in like a 10 out of 10 manner. Now, my one complaint, I was sharing this with you when we were playing. It's like, dude, I really wish they hadn't done the roguelite experience. It's just like, it almost seems like they had so many ways out. I'm like, I wonder, well, it's not even a wonder. Like it could have sold so much more. And I appreciate them having the integrity to like finish the vision they started out with. But at the same time, selfishly, as like somebody who's not a pro gamer or not even like a great gamer, like I don't know if I have the skill level to beat that. So
yes, you do, Landry. If you can beat Donkey Kong Country without needing to like do any saves or whatever or like rewinds, you're fine to beat this game.
Again, it's like a time commitment, right? Like how long do I have to invest to put into this? Like the last one that I beat like this, like Hades, like I don't know. I just felt like the loop gave you so much more. Every time you played through, you felt yourself getting better. I don't know if I feel that way in Returnal, and I've only done 3 runs so far. So
I want to see. I wish I would have taken a screenshot of my like audio or my capture log. I think I only did like 46 cycles, or like 46 resets, which is still like a pretty significant amount of deaths after like somewhat long games.
That's like, I think I had 42 in Hades. So, it's interesting.
But what I will say is like this. After I finished playing with you, I was like, I'm going to finish this game. And what I didn't realize, what is nice, is after you get towards the halfway point of Returnal, it doesn't actually make you go all the way back through those first 3 biomes. It actually starts you at like 4 to the next 3, so 4 to 6 essentially. So I didn't have to make it through everything, and it was just like I got to the end boss way faster than I thought I was going to get there. I was like, oh, I'm already here, okay, and I beat him, and I was like, oh, and I got the credits. I got the credits to roll, and I was like, sweet, I beat Returnal.
Nice,
it was so good, man. It's all about like, so I wrote this down, but like I found this combination. There's this thing that whenever you pick up the green things, the resin, it'll give you an extra shield. So like it keeps your adrenaline high if you get hit once, and you won't actually lose any of your power. And then you like this thing that also increased your protection like every single time you picked up ether, which is another like common thing you find later in the game. And then I had all these integrity upgrades, so basically your health. So I had super high health, I had this extra shield, and then this like really high defense. So by the time I was getting down to like the final boss, like nothing was hurting me. Like I could get hit it like many times, and I was like, oh, okay, I'm fine. And it was just, it was great. I really enjoyed it. I don't want to spoil too much because I do think it's worth it. And I think they've made it a little bit easier. And anytime you want to do a co-op session, like before you go into like the next biome, there's like one of those little spheres. So you can always call somebody in for the next biome you're going into.
I thought the co-op experience was awesome, though. I really was impressed.
It was seamless.
For them to like have kind of tacked that on at the end. Or, like it was a DLC, wasn't it? Like a free DLC?
Yeah, just a free update to the game. I was like, holy smokes,
this is super smooth and one of the better co-op experiences I've had like in a kind of game like that. So
yeah. Only downside is you have to share all the upgrades with your friend. So
yeah. So and if any of you watch the TMNT stream, you know I'm a fiend for taking all the supplies before anybody else can get to them.
Landry loves the loot. That guy loves it.
Especially if it's pizza. So.
Oh, dude, so much pizza. This guy loves pizza. All right, well, hey, let's jump on to the topic of the show then. So, 2022 Game Drought, the year of the backlog. So this came up in the Twitter spheres and just really across the games industry as a whole. People have been talking about this game drought that's been happening sort of as a result of the pandemic still rolling on. So a lot of games that were supposed to release this year have now been pushed back to 2023. Games like Starfield, Redfall, Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, Forspoken. I mean, that's just the four off the top of my head that are pretty huge. But there's so many more that like we were kind of expecting to hear more about this year, or at least have a release date for this year, and that have been pushed back. And so what's resulted now is this period in the summer. So like really starting in like April to July, maybe early August, there's been a really big slowdown in big releases, or at least a perceived slowdown in big releases. So what I thought we'd do is analyze this, see what's come out so far, and sort of what's coming down the pipeline a little bit, and compare that to 2021. You added the 2021 dates, which was a great idea. So we'll look at those, and then we'll kind of just walk through this step by step and kind of just talk about game droughts as a whole, what that means for us, how you handle something like that, what you can do instead, like tackle a backlog. And then also we had some people write in from the questions on Twitter. So if you are wanting to give your opinions on the show, follow BitBloggist on Twitter or Landry on Twitter, and we have a lot of fun conversations going on there. So starting out, January 2022 to now. So basically like June. We like went to June essentially. We had Pokemon Legends Arceus, or Arceus, Horizon Forbidden West, Elden Ring, Gran Turismo 7, Project Triangle Strategy, or just Triangle Strategy, Tunic, Stranger of Paradise, Final Fantasy Origin, Kirby and the Forgotten Land, Tiny Tina's Wonderlands, Lego Star Wars Skywalker Saga, MLB The Show, Nintendo Switch Sports, Mario Strikers, TMNT Shredder's Revenge, Fire Emblem Warriors 3 Hopes, and then Cuphead the Delicious Last Course. So, by and large, a pretty solid start to 2022, and then I'll do 2021 to kind of compare. Or do you want to talk about that list first?
Yeah, well, I don't know. Just like immediately, what jumps out to me is like there's a lot of really good games here in the first 6 months of the year, and that's the first 6 months of the year. You know, this the last 3 months really. Well, I think about like September to December, or really the end of November. That's where we're gonna get the bangers, right? That's where all the huge AAA party games that like they want to get out for parents and Christmas and stuff. That's usually where the biggest games come out. So to me, this does not look like a year of a gaming drought, but I do think it's interesting to compare it to 2021. So yeah, let's see what 2021 offered in that same amount of time. This is just the first 6 months as well, right? So we're looking at January through the end of June in 2021.
Yeah. So we had Hitman 3, Cyber Shadow, however you pronounce this,
Ease. I think it's Ease.
Yeah. IX, whatever, 9. Yeah. Little Nightmares 2, Super Mario 3D World, Persona 5 Strikers, Ghosts and Goblins Resurrection, Bravely Default 2, Outriders, Super Meat Boy Forever, Monster Hunter Rise, New Pokemon Snap, Returnal, Resident Evil Village 8, or Resident Evil Village 8, whatever, Mass Effect Legendary Edition, Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart, and Mario Golf Super Rush. So about the same amount of output, I would say, in big titles.
Yeah.
Now, again, 2021 to 2022, both are years that have been somewhat impacted by the pandemic. We're getting like the after effects of that in 2022, and 2021 was still kind of very much in the midst of that coming to an end, or at least quarantine ending. So I think there was a big slowdown there as well. But both of these lists, I think, look really good.
Same. Yeah, again, for the first 6 months, and then knowing what we got on the back half of 2021 and what we're slated to get in the back half of 2022, the word drought is interesting because it's like, are people really starving or like dying for new content or more content? I mean, we live in like this just culture of distraction and content at our fingertips. I'm just like, man, I can't really remember complaining about not having something to play. Like, there's always something for me to go back and dive into. And maybe it's because I'm in my 30s now, and I still enjoy going back and playing old stuff. I know some people like to play stuff once and never go back and revisit stuff. I'm not like that. I really enjoy replaying games over and over again. So,
hmm Well, so I think, yeah, like that kind of is the question. Like, are we actually in a game drought? And I would say no. I don't think we're in a game drought. We definitely have less larger AAA releases coming out this year that feel like big or impactful. But it's because I think what you kind of were alluding to earlier, but like it's because we knew that things were coming down the pipeline that didn't actually get released this year. So it feels a little bit more empty. Like, oh man, we were kind of really expecting Breath of the Wild this year, and not having that game coming out in 2022 makes it feel more sparse. Or same thing with Starfield. It's like, oh, we were thinking we were going to have this huge AAA Bethesda game for Xbox coming out, and it's not coming out now.
yeah, Starfield, Redfall. And then really up until, what was it, last week, we were kind of on the fence about God of War. We didn't know if that was going to slip out too. So, when we came up with this topic, God of War was still up in the air. And that really would have felt like a year lost. But if you just look at the heavy hitters, Horizon Forbidden West, Gran Turismo 7, Elden Ring arguably
The
came out
goatee.
of nowhere.
The goatee.
Yeah, well, certainly so far.
Mm-hmm.
But I would argue that like its impact was, no one could have seen that coming. Like,
Yeah, game was huge.
$2-3 million seller, and popular among certain people who like those Souls likes. Sure, yeah, I could see it that like highly rated on Metacritic, but selling 10 million copies and being like this huge cultural like
Phenomenal
moment.
Yep.
That's wild, man. Like I had a friend text me who literally doesn't play video games. He's only played like Breath of the Wild in the past 5 or 6 years.
Yep.
And I think he has a Super Nintendo at home. But we usually talk about movies, and he texted me about Elden Ring and was like, "This game looks amazing." And he's like, "I really want to play it. How should I do that?" And I was like, "Well, you can borrow the PS5 sometime." But like, yeah, it's for some reason that game is grabbing people who aren't even gamers, which is crazy to me because it is the level of entry is very, very high.
Yep. But yeah, I mean, like, I think like the biggest thing is like we as gamers are not people, kind of like you're saying, there's so much content to consume, so much to play, and video games are not an easy hobby to get into because they demand so much attention. They demand so much of your time to actually sit down, commit time to, and finish up, especially as these games have gotten bigger. Like Elden Ring, like you're saying, takes a long time to beat, like 60 to 80 hours probably. And when
you touched on attention too. It's like, it's not like other mediums where you can be doing something else while you're doing it. I mean, you're fully engaged when you're playing a video game, right?
Yes.
You've got like
It
so
is
many
not
senses
passive.
engaged, and yeah, it's completely active.
I am locked in because I have to see what I'm doing, or else I literally can't participate in this hobby. Like I have to physically focus everything I'm doing on this game. And so, yeah, I think in that regard, like, yeah, we have our attention drawn other places, and that's where like the drought stuff comes into place, or at least not this year, but in previous years, there's always been something to grab our attention next and take us to the next thing. If it's not Netflix or Stranger Things, it's, the next big Nintendo game that's coming out. But we don't really have that this year. Like we have Splatoon coming down the road. We have a few other like sort of big titles, like, yeah, again, God of War, Pokemon, stuff like that's coming out. But in terms of like what we're used to seeing, this is not the normal, I would say, in terms of how much time we have between these big releases. And so I feel like that's kind of a good thing. I would say that I think the industry needs to slow down. We're moving into this entire new next generation of technology that requires so much more time and resources, and it's only getting harder and more expensive to make games. So for me, I'm like, yeah, it only makes sense that we could slow down or should slow down, because again, I don't have time for all this stuff. I'm speaking for myself, but also like it seems like the industry can't really bear a lot of this anymore. It's like we can't pump out these games like we used to. Like it's going to be the next 4 years we're working on this one game to release it for you guys.
And 4 is like a quick turnaround now, right? I mean,
yeah,
5 I think is almost expected at this point. Yeah, man, I completely agree with you.
I mean, if you have like developers like Rockstar, I don't know how long they take between their, Grand Theft Auto, but I know it's like a pretty big cycle now. Like they wait. How long has GTA 5 been out for?
2013. It came out the same year as The Last of Us.
Yeah. So,
so that's
I mean,
wild.
almost 10 years. Almost
and
10
I
years.
remember thinking like, man, it took them forever to do The Last of Us Part 2 because that was a 7-year gap.
But that game was huge and it was amazing.
Yeah,
But it's just like that stuff takes time. And if you want it to be good, you got to wait.
Rockstar's got a lot of resources thrown at their online components, of course. So who knows how long they've had certain games in development. Red Dead 2, though, there was rumors that was a 10-year development process for that game. So
Crazy. Okay, so all of this talk, though, then leads into, sort of like as we've been waiting for games to come out, we all know that we've accumulated what's called a backlog. And if you don't know what a backlog is like a pile of things that you've tossed aside with the full intention of revisiting someday, but have yet to revisit because things. So we all have them. We have major backlogs in video games, in any hobby, in life. There's just things that you do because you don't have time to, you get distracted, you go somewhere else. So my question for you, Landry, is you seem like a guy who manages his backlog pretty well. So like, how do you normally game in a year? Or like, do you buy a lot of next-gen games and only finish half, or like new games? Or are you a person who sticks with one until you've like finished it all the way through?
I never buy new games for like new consoles unless I'm going to play them literally at that like moment. So like anything I buy on a new platform, whether it's Switch or PS5, those are the two that I have, I'm going to be playing that like almost immediately. Where I get into trouble is that I like to collect for old consoles, like the DS and the 3DS are probably my two favorites to collect for right now.
Yep.
But also the Wii. And, I've got Nintendo, Super Nintendo, GameCube. So I'll buy those whenever I see good deals on them. And that's where I get myself into trouble. And about once a year, because I tweeted, you may be even asking me this because I tweeted about this like maybe a few weeks ago. Like, man, I'm really good at keeping up with my backlog.
Yeah.
It's like something that I pride myself on. And the way I do that is if I'm looking at my shelf and I'm like, man, I really don't want to play that game, even though I bought it, then I sell it. And then I don't have to play it anymore. It's not in my backlog anymore because I sold it away, usually for an increased profit as well.
That's a really good strategy. That is a really good strategy.
I did that the other day with
Kudos
Yoku's
to
Island.
you.
I've tried to play that game 3 or 4 times, and I always get about 2 hours in, and then I just fall off of it because I don't find the core mechanic engaging. I could see why people love it. There's nothing wrong with the game. It's very well made. And I was just like, you know what, man? I paid like $15 for this. I think I can get 30 for it, and that's about what I got. So I sold it, and now I don't have to think about it anymore. I don't have to try and play it another time. I'm good to go. So
good for you for buying the physical version of that. That's nice.
Yeah. Yeah, it was, and it was really cheap when it came out too. Like I got it for $14.99.
Would you recommend people buy physical in this case? Then are you more of an advocate for physical games over digital?
I don't advocate either way. I think there's benefits to both. I like physical because I like to sell things when I'm done with them, or I like to keep them on a shelf and display them. And then when they get super expensive, I don't hold like a ton of sentimental value to my stuff. Then I'll sell it then. So like, I've already sold my entire N64 collection and Super Nintendo collection twice. So, and then I just start over again. Like I don't have an N64 now. And it's actually like killing me. It's killing me. I need to get it back. But like in all those cases, I've made quite a bit of money on what I put into it. So
you're a madman. But I know you'll find it again because for anyone that's listening, Landry's the kind of person who can go to like, he just has like his ear to the ground or his thumb to the what is the saying?
Ear to the ground works, I guess.
Thumb on the pulse or something like that. Whatever it is. He just knows when like sales and different garage things are happening. Well, he'll just show up and find video games random places and be like, oh yeah, they posted about it on social media, so I just went and found it.
Yeah, that's a hobby of mine, is actually going out into places, maybe even places you would least expect it to, and then finding video games, and usually like dirt cheap, you know. So
and then he resells them like a smart person and makes money. So good for him. So I agree with you. I think I'm the same way, sort of. Actually, I'm not the same as you at all. I don't sell games at all. I don't know why I just said that. I am a person who will buy games because I know that I will like them, or at least I'm interested to try them. And then I let them sit there because I feel bad about the purchase. I'm like, people like this game. I should like this game. Like, I should just be a person that likes this game. And so I just sit there and look at it for a long time. Deathloop was like that for me. You know, everyone loved Deathloop, got a 10 on a lot of review sites. And I was like, man, I should like Deathloop, and I just hated it. I was like, there's something about this game I just do not like. It just does not jive with me. I don't know what is going on. I can see the appeal, but it's like just not for me. And so I still have it. And I will probably need to sell it here pretty soon before it gets added to some sort of service.
Man, before you sell it, or go ahead and sell it if you want to, but let me play
I'll let you borrow it. I'll let you borrow it for sure.
That's one thing you're great at, Jake, is you let people borrow your games. I really appreciate that. And all of my games, anybody who's a friend of mine, I'm really good about letting people borrow them as well. I actually had to start keeping like an Excel sheet at a certain point, because like I had so many games out and I was like, I can't remember who I gave this to at what point. And I don't have as many friends now as I did like back in my college years that were actually like playing games and stuff that I was lending games. But like back in the day, that happened to me all the time. So But I appreciate that about you, though, Jake. You've saved me a lot of money over the past couple of years.
Anyone that's a good close friend of mine, especially as they're getting onto a new system, it's kind of exciting to like bring them into the ecosystem. It's like, dude, you don't have to pay for any of these. Here are these games for you. But now that these premium like subscription services are kind of out, like I would have let you borrow Returnal. I would have let you borrow like some of the games you're playing, like Ratchet and Clank and stuff like that. But I think you bought Ratchet and Clank, but that was a game I would have let you borrow if you just told me like, oh, dude, I have that. So it's just a fun thing to bring somebody in to the ecosystem that's just starting out. But then also in terms of sticking with the game, I'm not a person like I will go back and finish it if I feel like I want to. If I really do feel like it, I will like go back and actually finish it. So that kind of leads into this next one. What recommendations do you have for people who are stuck waiting for the next big thing to come out, like in regards to their backlog or anything else they can really do? Zero Parse, aka Matthew on Twitter, wrote in and said, I tend to fall back into roguelites and deck builders when I run out of new things to play. Been running through Gwent Thronebreaker again, and it has me wanting to do a Witcher 3 all Gwent run again, which is kind of crazy to me. I wrote back to him. I was like, I didn't even know this was even a thing. You could play the entire game of The Witcher, just only Gwent, though.
Is that like a Nuzlocke Pokemon run or something like that? That's crazy.
Yeah, you stop the what's the big bad in that game called? The I forget what it's called, but yeah, you save the continent by just playing a card game in all the local pubs around the lands.
That's hilarious. I didn't know that was a thing either until I saw that tweet. That's so great. Yeah, deck builders are. I would never have thought that it would be for me. Slay the Spire was pretty cool though. I enjoyed that. It's not one that I poured a ton of time into, but I did pop in and play good enough to know that I really enjoyed it and thought it was a good game. But on my end, when I have downtime and there's not anything to play, I always go back to my favorite old consoles and play some old games. Like I just played Jack and Daxter and 100% of that and got the platinum last night.
Oh, wow.
That it was so much fun revisiting that. That's not a platformer that people talk about these days as much, but it really has a lot in common with like Banjo-Kazooie and Super Mario 64, Super Mario Odyssey. The controls are a little dated, but everything in the levels is tuned to fit those clunky controls. So after about an hour or so, you don't really notice it, and the world building and the characters are all pretty good. But yeah, that's kind of been like the theme of my year is 100%ing things that like I've played all the games in my backlog, but I'm like, I want to go back through and 100% them. So I got like 100, all the gold Skulltulas and Ocarina of Time and all the heart pieces, like as much as you can 100% that game I did, and 100% of Donkey Kong Country and Donkey Kong Country 2, Banjo-Kazooie. Yeah, I've been on a tear this year, just knocking out completion routes basically
on retro titles. Very, very impressive. Yeah, I'd say for me, like, play what you want to play. Like, don't get so hung up on trying to play the thing that you fell off of just because you didn't like it. I mean, kind of like what Landry says, you know, if you don't like something, you know, you don't have to go as far as excelling it and getting out of your house immediately, but really do think about it. Like, try to jump back in, because sometimes things take a while to click, and maybe like your second jump in is like, oh, okay, now I'm enjoying this. This is great. Because that happens to me every now and then too. But like you said, I've been revisiting, because so many like of the modern consoles now have virtual consoles or backwards compat stuff. I've been playing a lot of retro titles. So I just finished Paper Mario 64 again. I've beaten it before, but it was just so fun to go back through that. And like Returnal was one that I had put on the shelf since last year. Like, I knew I wanted to finish it, but it was tough. But then again, something clicked. I think after playing with you, I was like, I'm just going to try this out. And I just did like a few more runs and beat it. And I was like, that was great. I'm so glad that I sat down with that. Same with Lost Legacy. So I'm playing a lot of stuff that like I've been meaning to get to, that I know I enjoy. So that way when I do sit down and I beat them, that like sense of accomplishment is actually pretty great. It's like, yes, okay, one more thing off the checklist of games I've like wanted to beat, or I just enjoy playing. So, and then yeah, have your go-to, have your game that you always go back to. For me, it's like Smash Bros. You know, I can always jump into Smash Ultimate, play a few rounds, and have a good time. But yeah, anything else for the folks out there that are waiting for God of War Ragnarok?
No, I just think that, you know, be content, enjoy one of the many offerings out there. There's some, especially with PS Plus, Extra, Game Pass, Nintendo Switch Online. There's just so much to play, and so much like, get on Twitter and like see what everyone's talking about and just pop it in. You know, there's always something that's like trending that you can get involved in. If you're like bored on something, then try and like get in a conversation, or like start talking to other people online about it. That'll spice things up a little bit.
Yeah, it'll kind of inspire your desire almost to like go back to it. It's like, you know what? I had a fun conversation about Golden Sun. I'm going to go play this. That's been happening, I feel like, more recently for me. But a big thing you just reminded me of also, there are other hobbies than video games. So if you ever feel yourself like there's nothing to play, maybe that's your sign to just do something else for a little while. I find that when I step away from games and do something else, like running, writing, reading, podcasting, watching just a movie or something like that, when I do come back to games, I enjoy them more, because I think we think that like video games need to be the only thing that is like our hobby sometimes, and it's like, oh, you can do so many other things, and it helps take away from like some sort of like the buildup of need that you feel like you have with games. So yeah, do other things. That's always good for you.
Yeah, no question. I'm usually good about taking a month off of just not playing video games for a month.
Yeah.
I haven't done that in a while though. Need to do that. It's always really great, because I like wind up reading something that's amazing, or, you know, writing a lot more.
Yeah.
There's a lot of free time that we commit to this hobby, which is not a bad thing. It's got a lot of wonderful perks, and it's given me a lot of joy in my life. But it's always nice to get out there and see what else is out in the real, tangible world outside of video games.
Yes. And we'll close on that, guys. We'll close on that. So tell us what you think. What do you do normally when you're waiting for the next big thing to come out? Do you dive into your backlog? Do you do something else? Do you jump into your other side hobbies you have? Let us know. Write into us or write to us on Twitter. Landry, thank you so much for being on the podcast, man. I appreciate you.
Dude, thanks for having me. Anytime.
Yeah. Where can people find you at?
You can find me on Twitter as well. You can search up my name, Landry Smith, or just at Soft Iconoclast. Sorry, at Soft Iconoclast. That's where you'll find me talking about video games mostly, a little bit of NBA talk, a little bit of classic lit talk, and that's about it.
Classic lit, man. be sure to go to bitbloggist.com to see any of the latest stuff we've posted or talked about here. And yeah, check us out on Twitch, Discord, all the social channels if you want to stay in touch with us. And if you have a topic or a question you're curious about or just want us to dive into more, write into bitcast@bitbloggist.com and we'd love to cover it. Until next time, though, this has been BitCast. Thanks for tuning in. Let's talk about some stuff.